Hey, what's happening, guys? Dan Darrow here with another Options and Play video update. We have still plenty of big names reported, and while like the number of names every day, maybe not so much. Still, like each day, it seems to be at least one to two to three names that could really move a lot, or at least are expected to move a lot. So, for this time of the quarter, for being into like middle of December, still lots to look forward to. All right. Monday before the open, things get started. JKS. They're priced in at about 11.5 points. Those are monthly options, though. Last quarter is what started this just absolutely ridiculous run. So earnings started the move, and then now it's gone through a consolidation, and I feel like I'm still net positive on Solars. Especially on this because they had a really strong quarter in September. So, I feel like it's a decent consolidation coming off a good quarter. The sector maybe a little bit less strong like the past few days, but overall, I still kind of like the way that the sector sets up the solar names. Pricing's kind of high though for options, and I think this trade's going to revolve around the stock gain above like 70 to 75, which is still kind of pretty far away from where it is right now. So this might actually just be more of like a swing trade idea for me, less of an earnings trade. After the close on Monday, we have some software names. So Coupa, about 32 points is what's priced in on this. Growth has been slowing a bit, and the stock has been kind of plateauing around 300. I haven't traded this much recently, and I think based off option pricing, I prefer to see what they say. Let's see what the stock does. Then maybe I'll put some trade on just because I really haven't been focused on it. I haven't had like a good feel for it, so I think I would just rather like wait and see. Smartsheet, about 7.5 points is what's priced in on this. Those are monthly options though. Pretty consistent mover on earnings. The last couple quarters, really big moves, and it's right at the top of its 52-week high. And actually, both times it rallied to like 60 into earnings and then got demolished. So I don't know if the third time is the charm, but at 7.5 points, does seem like options do leave a little bit of room. So, um, maybe a volatility strategy might actually be something I look at on that one. Stitch Fix. So, about 575 or so is what's priced in here. It really has not been the same stock it once was. There was a while where earnings were just huge events and would move all over the place. Average move the last few quarters has been smaller, and that huge short interest, it doesn't seem to really be doing much, at least for the stock. And I haven't had much success trading it, so I think I'm going to leave it alone. Maybe though, after earnings are out, maybe there'll be a trade, and maybe I'll take a look. But I haven't had any success with it, so that kind of plays into me just wanting to like leave it be. Before the open on Tuesday, nothing really of interest. After the close on Tuesday, Chewy's. So about 775 is what's priced on this. Um, Now this they've priced in huge moves on earnings each quarter this year, and it's not moved nearly enough to reward options each of those quarters. So it seems like a bullish setup, but the lack of consistency movement wise around earnings is going to keep me away. I don't know why the options are routinely so expensive, and especially based off what it typically moves, it just seems like there's some like out of whack pricing going on with that one. GameStop. So this one should be interesting or entertaining, maybe both. It's priced in at about 425. Recent numbers have not been great, and that could change because we're going into a gaming upgrade cycle. So that should be good for GameStop. Plus, it's just hard to believe just a ridiculous amount of short interest, and I feel like that could really set up like a big swing in either direction. I feel like there's a possibility though that it rallies ahead of time because of that huge short interest, and the stock has some momentum. So I'm looking for some short covering prior to earnings, and then we'll see where it is going into the actual print and determine whether I want to potentially like adjust or maybe even look at like a volatility strategy. And then MongoDB also Tuesday after the bell. About 27 points is what's priced in on this. Some of the high growth, like high multiple software stocks had a really nice week. But I guess I'm slightly more mixed on MongoDB because the last few quarters it hasn't been as volatile, and the stock is now just off its 52-week high. So you have to imagine expectations were a little bit more elevated. Also, I think the pricing seems kind of high to me, so I think I'm gonna leave this one alone. For the open on Wednesday, nothing really of interest. After the close on Wednesday, a couple big names. So Adobe, about 27 points. That's what's priced in on this. Big software report last quarter. It got bid up ahead of time on those Salesforce numbers, and it retraced on its own report. I think this setup is a lot better because it's coming out of a consolidation, just starting to wake up. It hasn't run too aggressively like last quarter. Plus, they're very consistent when it comes to like beating estimates. So I think it's a pretty solid setup, and this is one that wouldn't surprise me to see if it kind of like lifted or ran a bit ahead of time. Restoration Hardware. So they're pricing in 64 points, so a lot, and probably because last quarter was up a ridiculous amount on earnings. So I have to feel, or I feel after like the way it's ran and after the number put up last quarter, that expectations are through the roof, and option pricing is very, very, very high. And when you couple that with the fact that a lot of the retail names that went into earnings around that 52-week high have really not fared that well this quarter, I think this is a very tough setup. I mean, I do think it could have a pretty nice swing. I just don't know if it's 64 points wise. I mean, that just seems like a lot of money to lay out. So it's just going to be kind of a game time decision for me. For the open on Thursday, Sienna, about 4.5 points is what's priced in on this. And I feel like this is kind of interesting because it got absolutely crushed last quarter, and it has bounced recently, but it's still, it hasn't bounced to reclaim any of what it lost last quarter. So it still has that huge gap. And I mean, the options are pricing in only a move like a third of what it moved last quarter. So I feel like there's some room there on either direction. I mean, it has obviously a huge gap above, but it's well off the low from just like a few weeks ago. So I feel like a volatility strategy might be something I take a look at. And then Thursday after the close, a few big names. Broadcom pricing in about 22.5. It's really been such an under the radar semi. Nobody talks about it. I mean, I myself really haven't looked at it a whole lot. Stock is at a new high though. I mean, it just looks solid. I guess my biggest issue with Broadcom is just that it hasn't really been too volatile around earnings recently. So, with that in mind, I don't know if it makes a whole lot of sense to lay out money for options when it's worked better as a swing trade. So, I mean, that's really my opinion with that one. Lulu, another big name. About 30 points is what's priced in on this, and it had such a fantastic run going into September, and then it really corrected, and earnings like took a toll, and it really hasn't been able to regain that momentum. It did have a nice breakout through 350, which we participated on, and it does maybe have another path for like a leg higher ahead of earnings, but I also think if it kind of sits around here, it could be interesting. Even like with options pricing in 30 points, I feel like there might be like a smaller chance of like a really, really big move. So I might look at something like lower debit further out of the money, just in case there's like, like a 40, 50, 60 point move, which I mean, I think it might be a smaller chance, but I do think that there is maybe a chance. Costco, another big name. About 12.5 points was priced in on this. Their monthly comps, they reported just this past week, missed for the first time in months. Stock, to me, seems a little exhausted up here, and earnings typically aren't huge events because they give those monthly comp updates. So I don't think I'm going to do anything with this one. And then lastly, Thursday, another big name, Oracle. So about 3 points is what's priced in here. And this is going to be the first quarter since like all of those TikTok headlines. So I'm going to be kind of interested to see what they have to say. Stock, I guess, actually looks reasonably good, especially if we can get up through like this 62 area. I mean, there could be a pretty nice breakout through like the yearly resistance range. But it has been a while since it's had a monster move, and I don't know if this is the quarter it's going to do it. But if I had to pick a direction, I might lean more bullish, but I'm kind of on the fence with it. And that's it, because Friday before the open, really nothing of interest. So, I mean, you can see, I mean, still big names due to report and some big priced in moves too. So I mean, I'm expecting some good action. All right. So if you like this video and you're looking for more information on trading earnings with options or more information on option swing trading, please follow up with the link in the description of the video for more information on options in play. I hope you have a wonderful night. Stay well, and I will talk to you all on Monday.